Hi guys, I'm here to warn you. I am actively being targeted for fraud and identity theft right now, and I don't want that to happen to you. So I am going to tell you what the scammers are saying because it is really, really, really convincing. And this is a scam they're running right now, and I don't want you to get caught. So the first things I noticed happened a few weeks ago. I noticed that someone had logged into my Chipotle account, right? Not a big deal, low pressure, who cares? It's Chipotle. I mean, Chipotle is delicious. But they said, did you try and log in? I had not. There was one other small account, I can't remember what it was for, but it was one of those small little, everyone has rewards type program accounts that people have. So I started getting nervous. I was like, okay, I think someone is trying to get in. Oh, Facebook. I also got one from Facebook. Someone was trying to log into Facebook that was not me. So I changed passwords and all that, set up two-factor authentication in as many places as I could. Fast forward a few days, and I get a very interesting email from my kids' school. And it was an admissions application or an admissions inquiry for the school that my children go to. However, so they had the names of all of my children, or most of them actually, but we're already enrolled in that school, and they included the name of the student, my one of the girls who goes to a different school, and the school knows it. So they sent me a message saying, hey, why are you filling out admissions inquiries for the school your kids go to? And is this kid wanting to come back? I responded being, I did some research and I was like, okay, this is definitely looking on the realm of identity theft. Thankfully, they contacted me. I contacted them back. We've got sort of a flag going in the school saying, don't give out any of my personal information. I am actively being targeted. So fast forward another few days, and I get another message, this time coming from US Bank. Now, this is an account that I haven't touched in, I don't know, almost a decade. But it existed. And things just weren't, again, spidey senses were tingling. I called US Bank and they were like, yeah, we didn't call you. I closed the one account that I had, but not that there was anything in it, but I closed it. They gave me some pretty good advice at that point in time. Apparently one of the scams going right now is fraudsters are opening checking accounts in your name, sending money around, and then you get held liable for their fraud because everything's under your name in a checking account. So not that the money is necessarily yours, but then you take the fall or something like that. So they encouraged me to apply and set up an account at something called Chex Systems, Chex like the cereal, CHEX, which prevents anyone from opening a checking account in your name. Now, I should also mention, I keep my credit, all three, Equifax, TransUnion, and the third one, the other one with E, are always frozen all the time. We do that. That is my husband and my prerogative to always keep our credit frozen, and then we just do temporary lifts if ever we need to run our credit. Highly recommend doing that. It is free and it is much safer because these scammers are getting better and better and better. I also, at this point, registered in the FTC identity theft portal. This is just something you should do. If you start getting those things where you're like, hey, someone is stealing my info, just do this because they are convincing. And I'm going to tell you the sort of what I'm assuming at this point is their cream of the crop. They're really actively targeting me and trying now was a call I got not 45 minutes ago. And thankfully or unthankfully, I was in the middle of a dentist office. And so they call, and I've got my 3-year-old screaming for fruit snacks, and it was just chaotic, which was also a little frustrating. Andrew, give me a minute. So they called, they said they were calling from US Bank. Again, at this point, they may not know it, but I have closed all those accounts because I wasn't using them anyway. And they call, they say, hey, we have some suspicious activity in your account. The guy sounded really legit. And I should also mention the phone number they called from registered on my caller ID as US Bank. So they were calling from a legitimate US Bank branch, or so they made it seem. And so they said that someone was trying to send multiple payments through Zelle attached to my US Bank account. Now, they gave me a ticket number and 2 confirmation codes. It sounded super, super legit. The theater was top-notch acting there. And these weren't men with thick, heavy accents where you're thinking this is someone calling from a call center across the globe. These sounded like someone down the street, someone who works a boring, grueling desk job every day, and is just, very almost monotonous in that regard, but not robotic enough where you thought you were actually talking to a robot. And I'm asking questions because obviously I've been having these suspicions that things aren't right. And why US Bank if I close the account? And they're like, okay, but it's not your US Bank account. It's through Zelle. And they were saying that, and they were using a lot of big words that stressed me out. And they're like, okay, there's these imminent fees and you have to fix them and thousands of dollars. And they started listing these charges. And they're like, it's to an island south of Florida. You've probably never heard of it. It's called the Dominican Republic. Anyway, anyone who knows me would know well enough that, anyway, but with that, they had all sorts of excuses. They were coming up, and despite all of the excuses, it continued to sound very, very legit. And they transferred me to a person, presumably from Zelle, because Zelle is apparent, which again, I also don't have a Zelle account, but, they transferred me. It was a whole process. There was like elevator music. It sounded so legit. They called, asked for my confirmation codes, and they're saying throughout this, and this was a kicker too, they said it multiple times, do not give any sensitive information, which at that point I still hadn't. Sorry about the kids screaming in the background. So I still hadn't given any sensitive information, but they kept saying that. That makes it sound more legit, right? So I was saying that, and nonetheless, something just wasn't right. So the kids were screaming. They're like, oh, we can call you back in an hour. I asked for the real number of, the guy to call back, and he gave me a number. This time the number was not legit. Came from a completely different area code. You look it up, it's nothing, So I was almost falling for it because even though things weren't quite adding up, the theater they had, the transfer, the confirmation codes, the don't give any sensitive information, and I still hadn't, but they knew enough about me because obviously they found stuff somewhere, which unfortunately is pretty easy to do nowadays. Everything is everywhere. Our information, how many of us have gotten 15, 16, your personal info was involved in a data breach. Like I've gotten many of those emails over the course of the years. Sorry. So I almost fell for it until right at the end when they were scheduling a call back in which they said, because of course they're going to need to call me, right? Because the number they're calling from isn't legit. So they need to call me. They can make it look legit, but it's not actually legit. But when they scheduled that call back, because again, I was at the dentist and they made it sound very urgent. And I was like, okay, I can talk to you in an hour. They said, okay. And this is one of the last things they said, which was, and just know that our fraud department is on it, so you don't need to contact the authorities. So I immediately contacted the authorities, obviously. And yes, the authorities certainly think this is fraud. Then I called US Bank and they're like, yes, identity theft, fraud, all that jazz. That is what's happening. It's what you thought was happening. I do not expect that I will get a call back in an hour, because when they said that, I told them, I'm like, yeah, I'm going to call the authorities. Thanks though. Hopefully that means they'll get bored with me. But, if you see anything from me and you're like, that doesn't sound like her, it is possible it's not, because again, being targeted actively right now for identity theft and fraud. So overall, what I wanted to make sure you guys are, because I was writing down like phone numbers and confirmation numbers in the dentist on, this is like a vaccine thing you get from the doctor that happened to be in my purse. Like I was in full on like panic mode for a second, because I know that someone's been trying to steal my stuff. But again, I just want to go through like, what were the steps? They started by trying to get access to those mundane accounts, Chipotle, etc. Then they started testing out personal information. Where do my kids go to school? After that, the bank, getting links. Fix this. I never clicked on the links, but they started sending me things with links from legit looking accounts connected to bank accounts that I had. I was just lucky enough that the bank account I had was empty. And I knew it was empty. Then I started making all these active things to try and prevent this from getting worse. So again, I signed up at Chex, CHEX Systems, to prevent people from opening accounts in my name. I ensured that all of my credit was and remained frozen. Again, do this at all times. There's no reason for your credit to be open. It takes seconds to lift, and it's much better to just have it locked all the time to prevent this from happening than to leave it open. And I filed with the FTC identity theft portal. The theater was excellent. It's scary. It was legitimate. I called, it was legitimate sounding. And I don't want this to happen to you. So I wanted to tell you all of those steps that came through. They're doing the transfer within the same system. I did also think part of another thing was that once they transferred, the guy sounded like the same guy. So, that was also something that I noticed, that after they transferred, the guy from US Bank and the guy from Zelle sounded identical to each other. But yeah, I think that's pretty much it. They'll give you a case ID. They'll give you confirmation. They'll tell you not to give away sensitive details. Things that make it sound safe and legit. They might call from a legitimate number, but it's not legitimate. They can fake those numbers. So again, the first number they called me from was a legitimate US Bank branch number. The number that they told me to call back on was not. But then they offered to call me back, and by then their gig was up. I hope this information is helpful. I hope that this doesn't happen to you. But as the officer that I was talking to said as I was calling him, our information is out there. It doesn't matter. I know that I'm not, I'm out here, like I'm posting things on social media because I'm trying to promote my book and things. But our information is out there no matter what. Everyone's been caught in data breaches. They have your name, they have your social security number, they have your password. They just have to find whatever stupid way you give them access past the security measures. And I hope it doesn't happen to you. I hope you catch it. Always question. Things that look legit may not be legit. And these scammers are getting really, really smart. I hope this helps, and good luck and stay safe.